glad you're here. Welcome to part 2 of the C4 Ford Transmission rebuild and assembly. I just finished up welding the floor pan for the Maverick. Be sure to check out my other videos where I show you how I installed the floor pan and get it welded into place. Now moving on to the C4 transmission, today we are going to talk about the transmission itself. I got the new casing in, as you see here. The other casing, I had to cut the flange off the front to get the pump assembly out. So this is the new casing. As you can see, I went ahead and painted it blue. And while I was waiting for the paint to dry, my radiator in and out ports came in, so I installed those. And moving on the other side of the transmission, I had to replace the kick-down shifter. This is what attaches to your steering column with a kick-down, and this is what also shifts it first, second, third, reverse, and park. Today we're going to focus on the rear of the transmission over here. We're going to be putting the parking mechanism back in with the locking lever, and I'm also going to be talking and working on the output shaft. The output shaft has some rings that I need to replace, and there's a locking ring right here that I need to investigate to see what needs to happen here. On the back side goes the governor. We're not ready to talk about the governor. I won't be doing that today. And we will be installing this all the way up to the reverse servo right here, because I have to order a new part that needs to come in because the O-ring is molded around the servo, and we'll also be putting the new reverse band in place today, and probably the adjusting band that goes, the bolt that goes on this side. Okay, so before we get into this transmission rebuild part 2, I want to point out the book I've been using, which is Hayes, and this is about let's see, your C3, 4, 5, 6, and AOD. We're going to focus on the C4 transmission rebuild, which begins on Chapter 8, Appendix A, and it tells you all about how to tear it down. This is what I've been referring to, taking everything apart. So if you look inside the transmission housing here, you've got your one-way, a lot of people call this different names. This is a sprag or a one-way clutch. What this does, this assists your vehicle being in park. As you can see, this inner ring right here is centered with a roller bearing spring, roller bearing spring. I didn't have to take this apart. I didn't need to take it apart. As you can see in the other case, I did take it out of the other casing, but this transmission case came with this part already installed and rebuilt. As you can see here, there's springs on the inside of that, and there's a certain way you've got to get the springs installed. Normally what you would do is you would put the outer bearing on. It would be in like this, and then it should slide right into place like that. But this is just like in there, and then you drop this piece, then you drop this piece in the middle there. So what you would do then is you would come in, put your bearings in first, and then you would grab a spring and make sure it's still springy, and you would put that into the L bracket. Normally what you should do is position this to where the point is rubbing up against the housing here. Very important. You just put that into place like so, and you do that all the way around. See how that's fitting in there? Once you get all these in place, it'll fit in better and seat better, and you do that all the way around inside the transmission case. So this one's already done, so I don't have to. I did go ahead and pop out my bushing, the output bushing from the old transmission case, and I took this one out and I put mine in because that bushing is still good. So let me put all this down, and so in the transmission rebuild kit, you'll get everything you need to rebuild the transmission. This is the old reverse band. I mean, it still looks pretty good, but since I have it open, I don't want to run into any surprises. So I'm going to go ahead and install the new one that came with my rebuild kit. Now this only fits in one way, and this is the adjusting side, and this is the side that rides against the housing of the on the inside of the transmission case. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in now, since everything is open and exposed. This would be an easy time to do that. So it's kind of a pain in the butt to get in. Gotta get it past all this stuff. So there's a little bit of work to get it in there, and it should fall right down into place there. The short strut with the notch would go on this side, and the longer one would go on this side against the band. So we'll go ahead and get that installed right now. Okay, so this right here is your rear reverse band adjustment bolt. Once you get this inside, you tighten it down, and then if you need to adjust the band tightness inside here, if you're, for example, if your transmission is slipping when in reverse, you need to tighten this up or loosen or whatever you need to do that. So anyway, this is good. I'm going to reuse it. I've wiped it off a little bit, and it goes onto the side right here. So I mean this side, yeah. So I'm going to screw this all the way up to that, just about to where that nut is. And as you can see in here, you'll see it come out right in here. There, I don't know if you can see that or not. But, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and put this. This is the longer strut side. You got two struts, one long, one short. One with the notch goes on the short side with one clip. There's a notch in the clip right there, as you can see, and I'll show you in the old band. There's a notch right here, and this fits right in that notch, and it won't slip off. And then your servo piston rod goes into here. So we'll go ahead and get this installed here. And I'll put this down inside. Here, take your hand off of the transmission, please. So you just find the hole in the band there and push this against that. So that's not gonna, that'll lock into place just like so. So the rear reverse servo, is I keep everything marked, and let me look at this, see if it's still any good. The rubber on that is still pretty pliable, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and reuse this without getting a new reverse servo. So I'll take a little new transmission fluid on the tips of my finger. I'll just rub inside the casing here where the servo goes, because you don't want to put it in there dry. You want to make sure it's pre-lubricated. And I'll spread some on the outside of the servo here as well. I'll wipe my hand off. So how this assembles is you have a spring, and then your servo goes in just like so. So as you can see inside here now is the servo that we just put in there. And what I'm going to do now is this will be a good time to put this other strut in to place. That's where it needs to be, right there. Okay, so I just put a little tension on it. I didn't tighten it up yet because we still have the drum and stuff to put in here. So here I've got the reverse servo housing cover cleaned up. I put a little silver spray paint on it to make sure when you do incidentally use paint on this transmission, the transmission doesn't get but a couple hundred degrees Fahrenheit, but I'm still using on the silver, I'm using a 2000 degrees Fahrenheit spray paint, and on the transmission I use 500 degrees Fahrenheit blue engine paint. Again, it only gets a couple hundred degrees, so that temperature of the paint should be fine. So now with the back housing cleaned up, I've got the new O-ring, which is a squared O-ring, and it should fit right on to the side here and inside where the old O-ring was in place. And there I got the O-ring seated in place. Now I'll go ahead and put some lubrication on it with some new transmission oil real quick. You don't want to put this together dry, so new transmission oil in a pan would be great, and it should seal up right against the servo housing on the transmission case. So I'll put the bolts in finger tight at first, and then I will crank it down with the impact using a cross pattern, because you want to make sure this gets put on there evenly. Okay, all of those are tightened down by hand. So now I'll come in with my impact, and I'll tighten it down the rest of the way. Okay, here you see the reverse adjusting bolt. And I've got it backed off a little bit just so we can get the drum inside later. And I got the strut on the right side going to the adjusting bolt, the reverse band itself, and then I've got the servo coming through with the pin going through right there to the smaller side of the strut. Again, right inside here is a clip that clips into that band so it doesn't slip off. And this clips on the outside here, and on the other side you can see how it's clipped on the outside on the reverse side. So So before I move forward, putting the reverse drum into where the in the middle of the band, I'm going to flip this on its front, and I'm going to install the rear parts of the transmission here. So this is your locking mechanism. It goes in here like so, and this is your locking gear. This will engage in those notches, so it'll keep your vehicle in park. So let me assemble that. There's a stuff that you can buy called assembly goo. What's cool about this is it's a petroleum jelly, but when it gets hot, it turns into transmission oil. So you don't want to put this transmission together dry. So this washer goes on the back here, and I'm just going to grease that up real quick. Okay, so what's nice about this petroleum jelly, the assembly goo, besides it turning into transmission fluid when it gets hot, when you run your transmission, it also helps the parts seat into place and stay put. So it's kind of like a glue that will evaporate and turn into transmission fluid. So anyway, that goes on there like so, and this is the metal pin that goes in the shaft right there, the hole, and this is the mechanism spring. And it's important that a lot of people miss. So this is your locking mechanism that your lever goes into. So once you put this steel rod into that hole, you're going to put this lever right into place right there. So this is your locking mechanism spring, and it goes. It's important to get this part of the spring into the tab right in there. That's built into the casing. So we put that in there first, and then the rectangular portion wraps around the head or the hammer of the lever. And again, it's not easy to put in. Just got to be patient with it. And lock it into place right there. Okay, so now that'll lock into place. So what happens when your linkage from your steering column, you put it in park, it'll move this lever right here, which moves this lever and puts the vehicle in park, and that won't go anywhere. So now I should be all set with the spring in place. Push it down in there really good. I should be all set to put this into place now. And again, these two pipes go into the holes right here inside of the transmission, which comes out through the inside of the transmission and feeds the valve body. Okay, so here I got the two pipes going into the transmission case for the transmission fluid to come from this rear portion of the transmission, and now I'm got the locking mechanism in place, and now I'm all set to ratchet everything down. With everything tightened down here, don't worry about this moving around a little bit right now, because when you put the output shaft through here, it'll hold everything in place. And so moving around right now is okay. It'll be put in place with the output shaft. Now we're going to flip the transmission back on its back, and then I'm going to start assembling the rear drum and the planetary gear, and then we can put the output shaft in after we change the seals on that. So I got the reverse drum into place, and a good rule of thumb to double check to make sure you got it in there correctly is it only turns one way, and it won't let you turn it the opposite direction. So that's how you know you've got it assembled correctly, as you see here. So next I'm going to put on this thrust washer. It goes right in here. Those tabs right there, as you see, fit right down in those holes. So I'm going to put some assembly goo on this thrust washer, and then I'm going to put that in place. Okay, now I've got the thrust washer in place. I'm going to go ahead and flip the transmission back on its top, and I am going to start addressing the output shaft, which is right here. So on the output shaft here, the kit that I got, if you pay extra to get the deluxe kit like I did, it'll come with these rings. And what the rings are for is they're piston rings. Kind of works like your piston cylinders inside your engine. Now you can take this off and replace the rings, or you can replace it right here on the output shaft. If you do want to remove it, this retaining clip right here with these pliers will come right out. But I'm going to leave it on, so I'm going to put that back into place. Using a screwdriver and my pliers, getting the ring to snap back into its place. And you can use a flathead screwdriver for this as well. So, all right. So now I'm gonna just simply remove these rings. Okay, so here's the old rings, and the one that I broke, don't do that. You want to be ginger with the new ones, because again, they're cast iron and they will break easily. What you should do is dip these in transmission fluid before you put them on, and then you work from the bottom up on this. So let me set the camera down and we'll get going. So now that I've got all the snap rings in place, let me point something out to you. A couple things. There's little notches in here. As you can see, right here's one, and here's the other one. What you want to do, and you want to stagger those. I don't like that placing, but what they suggested is these little marks, the yellow marks there you see. They suggest to put those in line, so your openings will be staggered. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come over here and I am going to pull this one around a little more, just to be a little more staggered. I don't want any of them even with one another, because oil gets in there and it's how it lubricates itself. So what I want to do now is put the output shaft in through the rear of the transmission, but remember, your back hub is floating, so you want to work that together to work it in to get it through that hub. Okay, it took a little work, and got the output shaft in through the rear hub of the transmission, and here you see it inside here with the reverse drum in place. Got the thrust washer against there, still there. So now I'm going to put the planetary drum right here in place here of the transmission. That should slide right in there like so. And then there's another thrust washer, I do believe, that goes in place right here. So what we'll do, these are the planetary gears, and earlier we looked, everything is fine in there. And I'll get some assembly glue, and we'll put on this thrust washer and put right here, and we'll get this in place. Sorry folks, I have to back up a minute. There's a ring in here that I gotta snap into place. So let me grab that ring right here. That's the ring, and I'm gonna put that in place, and then we'll put the planetary gear back in. Okay, now the planetary gear will go on there with the thrust washer liquid glue to the back side of that. So it takes a little fitting to get it into place, but it will go. There it is. Okay. Well, this is the back portion of the transmission rebuilt. Got new seals on the output shaft in here. Got a new reverse band. Used the original struts. Put a new seal on the reverse servo. And got the clip in there in the reverse drum. And we should be all set now. And I think that's a good stopping point for the day.
Jedi yet.